Hi, this is Rick Harsh of coronasamas.books, and I'm specializing today. No, I'm focusing today. That's what I'm doing. I get problems with words. Sometimes I use 50, 60,000 new words a day, but, that's not the record. I'm here to talk about Canadian books. That's what I'm focusing on. But not just the books, on the authors, because rogue editor John Dixon, who at times works for our press, and I don't know how that came to be or why or, who can stop him, if anybody. But we have a book coming out that was edited by him, but it's not a Canadian book. But he told me the other day, he said, people are interested in the writers. Talk more about the writers themselves. I thought, okay, let's start it with our Canadian writers. We've got 4 of them. We got W.D. Clark, who wrote this one. We got W.D. Clark, who wrote this one. That's 2. And then we got Tim Connelly. Only 1 so far, but it's a great one. His short stories are magnificent, particularly in the ability to conceive unusual situations and so on. They're great stories. But he's not the only short story writer we have. I'm not going to get to that right now. I'm going to start with Lee Thompson. Lee Thompson, 1 novel, won the New Brunswick Book of the Year award for the year 2022, I think. Yeah. And you may say, oh, the New Brunswick Award, whoopee. Well, it's only by chance that it wasn't the Canadian Book Award or the National Book Award or the, what's the one with the British people? The Brexit Award. Yeah. He didn't win the Brexit Award. He won a Canadian award. And, and they scoff. Here's one that didn't win anything that I know of, but is extremely good. Unidentified Man at Left of Photo, a masterpiece of narrative hijinks. And then there's another one by Jeff Percy. Another one by Jeff Percy is our other book of short stories, An Impalpable Certain Rest. He's got a way with words. His short stories are very different from Tim Connelly's. That has a lot to do with the fact that he's Jeff Percy and Tim Connelly is Tim Connelly. And then finally, we have Jeff Percy's book of criticism, Assume a Position, Considerations and Interviews. Notably, in this context, he's actually got a bit on Tim Connelly's first book. So that's our Canadians. We can look at them all together now, I think. I don't want to move the camera, but I'll just move the books. See, whoop, shit, I got one backwards. All right, here we go. There you go. All these Canadian books. So what do I know about these people? Well, they live in Canada, all 4 of them, and they pretty much represent, the way that they're spread through Canada, they represent the general population of Canada. They range from near the Atlantic to near Vancouver, well, near British Columbia. We have one writer, and I'm not going to say which one because these are personal details, in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm not even going to tell you which one's in New Brunswick, because if you didn't figure it out by now, maybe you just don't care. Maybe John Dixon's wrong. Maybe you don't want to know about the writers. Well, all I can tell you about the writers, because I only know them through many a modern communication technique. I haven't visited them. They haven't visited me, which is a shame, but John Dixon has, which is also a shame. He's from the Isle of Man. He's in the movie that we have coming up as well, the Portrait of a Man Drowning. he plays. Well, I don't want to ruin the movie. Anyway, John Dickson. Why are we talking about him? Did he write anything? Yes, he did. He wrote a couple of brief introductions to our books, and also has one for the Roberto Ontiveros book that's coming up, book of short stories, that he is the editor of. So the thing about these guys, these Canadians, is I think they're all over 40. I don't know that for sure. I don't think any of them are as old as me, but I think that they're getting there. I would guess, and it is a guess, that 3 of the 4 are in their 50s. And another thing that these 3 have in common, and maybe the other one, Tim Conley's the one I don't know about. I don't know how old he is. I think he's a professor, though, somewhere in Ontario. And I don't know his circumstances, but I do have the feeling that he fits the pattern of the rest of these writers. You know, how did they end up, how do I end up at Corona Samsa with 4 Canadians? Well, somehow I made contact with Jeff Percy. I think we were both fans of Blaise Cendrars, and he wrote something for an important publication on Blaise Cendrars, and that one thing led to another. And I believe that, Percy's publishing history, which is maybe the most expansive of the 4, has involved a lot of nonsense, which you'll find most people, if they have a publishing history, they've had to go through a lot of nonsense. Like, for instance, you can write a terrific book and get terrific reviews and no attention and very little praise, although those who read it, verbatim, a novel, I think is the one that I'm talking about most. It's terrific, but it doesn't get you anywhere. And then the next, in the sense of being read, not getting rich. But if you're like me, good luck to you. But if you're like me, you believe that a writer should be able to make a living. I don't need a big house, nice car, none of that shit. But a living. Let me write without, the strain of factory work or taxi driving or security guard work. Although I did write my first novel as a security guard, but as a taxi driver, I couldn't manage. I had to quit every once in a while and write a novel, and So anyway, the point being that I think they just get sick of dealing with the publishing world. They heard about my press, and one after the other, they came. We came recommended because we don't fuck with the authors. We don't really help the authors very much either. We print their books, and we put them out there, and we don't have the money to do a lot of merchandising bullshit. But they just want their books published, and they'd like to see something good happen, but they don't really expect it, which is wise on their part, because even though I've thought a lot about how to categorize books, and I finally came up with a way of categorizing the Canadians. Those vintage classics that were out for a while. I think Frederick Exley was printed by Vintage Eccentrics, or what was that? Did I say Vintage Classics? Yeah. Well, I would say that all of these books would qualify. They have the quality to be vintage classics, which means that all of these writers are good enough to be asked for a blurb, and they're good enough to be published by Vintage Classics, which I don't know if it exists anymore, but once in a while, or once in a while ago, they used to print a lot of pretty good books. The literary novelists were often being published by Vintage Classics. And all of these, I confidently say, would be worthy of being published by Vintage Classics. So how are things going in the publishing world? Well, the Canadians are coming to Slovene publisher Corona Samizdat, and it's good for me. I didn't know what to expect when I started this shit. I just wanted to, save my own and a couple other books from obscurity, and actually in large part from swinish publication. There's a publisher who was just absolutely lying outright to me. Never told me that he didn't have the money to print, and he kept setting up print dates. Meanwhile he owed his printer $1,000. It was no good. It was no good. It was slimy, and eventually I had this agreement with the great Chris Villa, the reviewer, that when it was the 5th planned publication date, when it was published, he was going to do a review. And, when the publisher finally admitted to me that it wasn't going to get done, I said, fuck this. I'm publishing them in Slovenia. And I did, and I got lucky to make a lot of good connections, to find a lot of good books. Like, where the hell do people like Robert Stickley, Abundant Circuity, where the hell do they come from? Philip Friedenberg, where the hell did he come from? Jeff Walton, he came from Phil Friedenberg. He was actually born from the head of Phil Friedenberg and became an illustrator because Friedenberg needed one. And then, there are people like, Ben Lieberman, who doesn't even get a name on his book. It was a mix-up, apparently. And next book by him, if we get it, we're going to have his name on there. And, you just never hear about these people. And then when you get to meet them, you get to know them. I did get to meet Ben Lieberman. You find out these are really, really talented and smart people. And they're, to have them go through the process that I never could quite follow up on. I had an agent once, but he was a sociopath. Still is, I'm sure. That's not something that you grow out of. And, I couldn't ever do it again seriously. You don't, now at this point, getting an agent is like getting published in the 60s was. It's just getting worse and worse. So we end up with all these great books, and it happens to be one of the categories is Canadians, and we're also publishing women. Yeah, we've got 3 now, 3 women published. That was a criticism early on. Where are the women? And my answer was, well, if I were a woman, I would publish with a press that has an established record of publishing good women writers. And, you come to a place like mine where when nothing else is working out, or we work hard to get something like the Corona Samizdat Chandler Brasard collection. I'll do one of these book tubes on that soon again, and a David Vardaman. And these are 2 of our great accomplishments, to have a collection of Vardaman and Chandler Brasard. But my favorite is The 7 Madmen by Roberto Arlt. It's a complicated story. It's a complicated accomplishment, and it's one of the most significant things we've done so far. But we also have these people nobody ever heard of before, maybe because they were too young, maybe because they hadn't been born yet. Some of them may still be in the womb. But Zack Tanner published 2 books that are very, very well liked and highly regarded, and then the third, Margie and the Atomic Brain, and this is just one of 3 to 5. I'm not even sure yet, because You know, he's a little crazy, and you never know how many books he's going to publish. This book has 7 new words in it, and you know, I think you'll enjoy it. And anybody who can find all 7 new words in this book can get a free copy of the 2nd volume. And well, so the spines are going to make one big picture, you know. Not the original idea. I mean, I used to have the Casanova biography. Where's my other hand? This one. Yeah, this, you know, six big books, 6 books about this size, and it you know, you put it together and there's a naked woman laying down. That was nice. And I think I sent that to Chris Villa, and then he sent it to someone else, which was, it was nice because he asked me if it was okay, like, would you be offended? Well, I wouldn't even know if he didn't tell me, you know, so, but of course I wasn't offended, you know. So it's always nice when people give away books, even if they're the ones you gave them, or especially then, perhaps, I don't know. Anyway, this is going to be one of our long-term great accomplishments, the full Margie and the Atomic Brain. But we're really not talking about that. We're talking about the Canadians. We got more Canadian stuff coming. W.D. Clark is working on a massive book. I don't know about Tim Conley. Lee D. Thompson was working on something wacky, last I knew. Something with some strange pagination, I think. But these are very brilliant, creative writers, and we're just lucky to have them. And you're lucky that they're available. And, you know, if you haven't found out yet about our pocketbooks, me and David Vardaman spoke early on when I first published his book. His was the first pocketbook. Angel of Sodom and Other Stories. These really are pocketbooks. They're very small, and I just love pocketbooks. And well, here it is, the Corona Samizdat pocketbook. Canadians, they're not what you think they are. Except for the hockey shit, you know, they are hockey nuts, and every single one of them plays hockey. You know, you look at a guy, a scholarly fellow like Jeff Percy, a decent man, you know, very scholarly. I said that before, yeah, a scholarly, decent man, a guy you might find in a library, who you're not afraid to come up to and say, hey, do you know where I would find so and so, some obscure shit? And he'd say, oh yeah, you know. Nice guy and everything, but you put him on ice, and he'll take a stick and knock you on your ass. He'll cross-check you, you know, or run your head into the boards. They're all like that, all the Canadians. And, you know, any Canadian who wants to correct that, well, nice, good luck. There's no way, because Canadians are fucking hockey crazy, and you put them on ice, and they're violent. So, I think I have a hockey... that's in the bathroom. Never mind. Okay, that's Rick Harsh on Canadian writers from the 10 € pocketbooks, 15 € this one, and I don't remember if this one is down to 15 yet, or usually our big ones cost 20, but I know that we wanted to, you know, a little... Sometimes we make them a little lower, so it's 15 now. And, you know, I'd like you to buy some. Sorry about the post. If you want, just email me, and you can find it on the site and the website, coronasamizdat.com, and you can bargain with me, and I can send you a free book or two to make up for the postal bullshit. The post is way too high, but... you know, if you shop smart, you might get some free books. All right. Okay, that's enough. 20 minutes is enough.